The Columbia Workshop presents Alice in Wonderland.
Alice, don't fidget so. I beg your pardon, sister, but it is so very dull today. Isn't it tea time yet? Not quite. We're going to tea when I finish the chapter I'm reading. Why don't you go and pick some daisies? Oh, it's so dreadfully hot to pick daisies. Sister, look, down there in the grass, a white rabbit. Mm-hmm. Sister, he has a waistcoat on, and look, he's taking a watch out of it. Oh, Alice, what nonsense.
Oh, dear, I shall be late.
Sister, did you hear that? Hear what? The rabbit. He looked at his watch, and then he spoke. Oh, Alice, your imagination. Alice, come back here. Where do you go? I've got to see the rabbit again, sister. Oh, dear. He just popped into that hole under the hedge. But it's such a very large rabbit hole. Perhaps I could squeeze through. Oh. There. I can still see him. He's down at the end. Oh, I must hurry. I must... Oh, I'm falling. I'm falling.
Falling down what seems to be a very deep well.
Oh, gracious, I've landed. I ought to be hurt, but I don't seem to be. Now, where is the white rabbit? Oh, there he goes.
Oh, my ears are twisted. Oh, Megan's getting.
He's turned the corner of the passage. Oh, I mustn't lose him.
But when Alice turned the corner, the rabbit was no longer to be seen. She found herself in a long, low hall with doors all around it, all locked. In the middle was a little three-legged table of solid glass, with nothing on it but a tiny golden key.
Alice tries the key in the various doors of the hall, but either the locks are too large or the key is too small. Now she sees a little door about 15 inches high. She tries the little golden key in the lock, and it fits. Alice is opening the door. Now she is kneeling to look through the passage. It leads to a lovely garden, but she can't even get her head through the doorway.
And even if my head would go through, it would be of very little use without my shoulders. Oh, how I wish I could shut up like a telescope. I think I could if I only knew how to begin. What a curious feeling. I must be shutting up like a telescope. Oh, what a fearful racket. It must at least be a walrus or a hippopotamus. Oh, no. I forgot how small I've grown. It's only a mouse. Oh, mouse! Perhaps it doesn't understand English. I dare say it's a French mouse. Come over with William the Conqueror. Ma shot.
First sentence in Alice's French book. Translation, where is my cat? The mouse doesn't like the reference in English or in French.
Oh, I beg your pardon. I quite forgot you didn't like cats.
They are indeed a queer-looking party as they assemble on the bank. The birds with draggled feathers, the animals with their fur clinging closely to them, and all dripping wet and cross and uncomfortable.
Alice had no idea what to do, and in despair she put her hand in her pocket and pulled out a box of candy
Lucky the salt water had not got into it.
and handed them around as prizes. There was exactly one apiece all around.
What a pity he wouldn't stay.
I wish our Dinah were here. She'd soon fetch it back.
And who is Dinah, if I might venture to ask a question?
Dinah's our cat. And she's a capital one for catching mice. And, oh, I wish you could see her after the bird. Why, she'd eat a little bird as soon as look at it. And... Oh, I wish I hadn't mentioned Dinah. Nobody seems to like her down here. And I'm sure she's the best cat in the world. Oh, my poor Dinah. I wonder if I shall ever see you anymore.
Suddenly, Alice noticed a large mushroom growing near her, about the same height as herself. And on top of it, a large blue caterpillar was sitting with his arms folded, quietly smoking a long hookah. The caterpillar took his languid time about noticing Alice.
And who are you?
I hardly know, sir, just at present. At least I know who I was when I got up this morning.
What do you mean by that? Explain yourself.
I can't explain myself, I'm afraid, sir, because I'm not myself.
Good day to you, my dear.
But...
One side will make you grow taller. The other side will make you grow shorter.
One side of what? The other side of what?
Of the mushroom.
Now, how can he tell which are the two sides of the mushroom when it's perfectly round? Maybe if I stretch my arms around as far as they can go...
She is now established at 9 inches.
As she approached the house, a fish, dressed in a footman's livery, came running out of the woods and rapped loudly on the door. It was opened by another footman in livery, who was really a frog. Alice crept behind a bush to listen as the fish footman presented a great letter nearly as large as himself.
For the Duchess, an invitation from the Queen to play croquet. From the Queen, an invitation for the Duchess to play croquet.
They both bowed, and the curls of their white wigs got entangled together.
There's no sort of use in knocking, and that for two reasons. First, because I'm on the same side of the door as you are. And second, because they're making so much noise inside that no one could possibly hear you.
The door leads into a large kitchen. It is full of smoke. The Duchess is sitting on a three-legged stool, nursing a baby. The cook is stirring a large cauldron of soup, and she throws pepper into it by the shaker bowl. A large cat is lying on the hearth, grinning from ear to ear. He doesn't sneeze. Neither does the cook, but everyone else does.
Please, will you tell me why your cat grins like that?
It's a Cheshire cat, and that's why. Pig.
Were you speaking to me?
No, I was speaking to this brat.
Oh, be careful, do! Oh, there goes his precious little nose.
Roughly to your little boy. No! And beat him when he sneezes. I must go and get ready to play croquet with the Queen.
Oh, don't squeal, my dear. That's not at all the proper way of expressing yourself.
She began thinking over other children she knew who might do very well as pigs, when she was a little startled to see the Cheshire cat sitting in the bough of a tree a few yards off.
Hello, Cheshire Puss. Would you please tell me which way I ought to go from here?
That depends a good deal upon where you want to get to. You'll play croquet with the Queen today?
I should like it very much, but I haven't been invited yet.
You'll see me there.
Well, he's disappeared into thin air. No, here he comes back.
Bye. What became of the baby? I nearly forgot to ask.
It turned into a pig.
I always thought it would. Oh, did you say pig or pig?
I said pig.
All right.
This time it vanished quite slowly, beginning with the end of the tail and ending with the grin which remained some time after the rest of it had gone. As Alice wandered on through the wood, she came suddenly upon a tree with a little door leading right into it. She was not surprised, for she had come to expect anything in Wonderland. So she quickly opened the door and entered, to find herself at last among the bright flower beds and the cool fountains of a beautiful garden.
The one she had first seen through the little door in the hall.
She had scarcely time to look about her when she heard the sounds of a procession approaching. It was the royal entourage of the King and Queen of Hearts, accompanied by their guests, the kings and queens of diamonds, spades, and clubs, with their soldiers and courtiers. When the procession came opposite to Alice, it stopped, and everybody looked at her as the Queen of Hearts spoke.
Who is this? How did she get in here? Speak, child. What's your name?
My name is Alice. So please, Your Majesty.
Alice. Her name is Alice. She has no business being Alice. Off with her head. Off with her head.
Oh, consider, my dear, she's only a child.
She has a head, King.
Oh, but my dear consort.
Mind your own.
Yes, my dear.
On with the procession. For the present, child, you may keep your head.
That's dreadfully kind of you.
The procession continued to the fountains in the center of the garden, while Alice looked about her vainly for some way of escape, but the Queen kept constantly by her side.
Have you seen the mock turtle yet?
No, I don't even know what a mock turtle is.
It's the thing mock turtle soup is made from.
I never saw one or heard of one.
Come on, then, and he shall tell you his story.
After a little walk, the Queen and Alice came upon a griffin lying fast asleep in the sun.
If you don't know what a griffin is, there's very little use in telling you, for you wouldn't believe it anyway. He is sort of half lion, half eagle, half... I knew you wouldn't believe it.
Up, lazy thing! And take this young lady to see the mock turtle and to hear his story. I must go back and see after some executions.
What fun?
What is the fun?
Why, it's all her fancy that they never execute nobody, you know. Come on.
They had not gone far before they saw the mock turtle in the distance, sitting sad and lonely on a little ledge of rock. And as they came nearer, Alice could hear him sighing as if his heart would break. She pitied him deeply.
Oh, what is his sorrow?
It's all his fancy that he hasn't got no sorrow, you know. This here young lady, she wants for to know your history, she do.
I'll tell her. Sit down, both of you, and don't speak a word till I'm finished.
I don't see how he can ever finish if he doesn't begin.
Once I was a real turtle. When we were little, we went to school in the sea. The master was an old turtle. We used to call him Tortoise.
Why did you call him Tortoise if he was a turtle?
We called him Tortoise because he taught us. Really, you're very dull.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself for asking such a simple question. Drive on, old fellow. Don't be all day about it.
Yes. We went to school in the sea, though you mayn't believe it.
I never said I didn't.
You did.
Hold your tongue, little girl.
Yes. We had the best of education. In fact, we went to school every day.
I've been to day school, too. What did you study?
Reeling and writhing, of course, to begin with. And then the different branches of arithmetic. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division.
And what else had you to learn?
Well, there was mystery. Mystery, ancient and modern, with geography. Then drawing. The drawing master was an old conger eel that used to come once a week. He taught us drawing, stretching, and facing in coils.
No, indeed. What sort of a dance is it?
Why, you first form into a line along the seashore.
2 lines. Seals, turtles, salmon, and so on. Then, when you've cleared all the jellyfish out of the way,
That generally takes some time.
you advance twice.
Each with a lobster as a partner.
Of course. Advance twice, set to partners.
Change lobsters and retire in same order.
Then you know you throw
The lobsters.
as far out to sea as you can.
Swim after them.
Turn some salt in the sea.
Change lobsters again.
Back to land again. And that's all there is to the first figure.
It must be a very pretty dance.
Yes. Would you like to see a little of it?
Oh, very much indeed.
Oh, come, let's try the first figure, Griffin. We can do it without the lobsters, you know. Which shall sing?
You sing. I've forgotten the words.
So they began solemnly dancing around and round Alice, every now and then treading on her toes when they passed too close, and waving their forepaws to mark the time while the mock turtle sang.
Walk a little faster, said a waiting to a snail. There's a porpoise close behind us, and he's treading on my tail. See how eagerly the lobsters and the turtles all advance. They are waiting on the shingle. Will you come and join the dance? Will you, won't you, will you, won't you, will you join the dance? Will you, won't you, will you, won't you, will you join the dance?
It's time to go to the trial.
What trial?
Come on. Come on.
And the Griffin grabbed Alice by the hand and hurried her off without waiting for the end of the mock turtle song. By the time Alice and the Griffin had arrived at the courtroom, a great crowd had assembled there. All sorts of little birds and beasts, as well as the whole pack of cards. The knaves stood before the court in chains. The white rabbit, dressed in the livery of a herald, was near the throne where the king and queen of hearts were sitting.
The king is also the judge, by the way. And as he is wearing his crown over his wig, he does not look at all comfortable. And it certainly isn't becoming.
In the very middle of the court, on a table, was a large dish of tarts. It made Alice hungry to look at them.
I wish they'd get the trial done and hand round the refreshments.
No chance of that. Them tarts is what the trial's all about.
What are the jurors writing on their slates for? They can't have anything to put down yet before the trial's begun.
They're writing down their names for fear they shall forget them before the end of the trial.
Stupid things. Why, they're all writing stupid things on their slates. And look, several of them can't spell it correctly.
Silence in the court.
The Herald, read the accusation.
The Queen of Hearts, she made some tarts all on a summer's day. The Knave of Hearts, he stole those tarts and took them quite away.
Yes. Consider your verdict, Jory.
No, not yet, Your Majesty. There's a great deal to come before that.
Who cares for you? You're nothing but a pack of cards.
At this, the whole pack rose up into the air and came flying down upon her. She gave little screams, half of fright, half of anger, and tried to beat them off. Then she found herself lying on the bank with her head in the lap of her sister, who was gently brushing away some dead leaves that had fluttered down from the trees upon her face.
Wake up, Alice, dear.
Oh, what a long sleep you've had.
Oh, yes, sir. I've had such a curious dream. All about a white rabbit, and a mock turtle, and a mad hatter, and the Queen of Hearts, and a whole pack of cards.
And so ends the Columbia Workshop's dramatization of Alice in Wonderland. Alice was played by Helen Clare. William N. Robson adapted and directed the production. Lee Stevens and Paul Starrett wrote the original musical score, and Mr. Stevens conducted the orchestra. Tune in next week at the same time for another workshop presentation under the direction of Irving Reese. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.